One, condemn the so-called Muslim ban. As of now, our administration has not done that, though they have put out statements of sensitivity and support for members of our community. There has not been a direct statement that calls out this ban for the Islamophobic, racist, and xenophobic piece of trash that it is. That's our first demand. Our second demand is that UMass Boston, in fact, declare this place a sanctuary campus and follow that up with concrete steps to support our particularly immigrant brothers and sisters on this campus who are targeted from ICE, whether it's because of their Muslim status or because of their general documentation status or their immigrant status, right? So that's our petition. We have 1,000 signatures on it. Our plan is to deliver that petition and with a symbolic fraction of the signatures that we've gathered. Some of them are online, some of them are on print. So that's one of our goals for today. The other goal is to display this banner, and the final goal is that, in fact, what we're going to do first, we're going to hear speakers from a variety of different groups on campus. The first speaker I'd like to welcome to the front is actually is a first-year student here at UMass Boston. Has been one of the real active organizers with Boston Against the Trump agenda. That's Megan Alves. She's going to share some thoughts and, in fact, read the Boston Against the Trump agenda petition out loud. So please join me in welcoming Megan to the stage. Thank you. Megan loud.
I'm not really going to say much personally. It's just a matter that's really important to me. It affects my family, it affects my community, and it affects generally just our community at large. So I think it's something that's really important, something we should really be fighting for.
Can y'all hear Megan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to start with it. We, the undersigned members of the UMass Boston community, express our opposition to the recent executive orders of the Trump-Pence administration banning refugees and other travelers from 7 predominantly Muslim countries: Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. This so-called Muslim ban is a shocking affront to our common values of equality, intellectual freedom, multiculturalism, and basic human decency. This executive order is discriminatory on racist and religious grounds and blatantly denies individuals due process, making it unconstitutional as well as unjust. Moreover, it is counterproductive to even its stated aims of protecting national security, as its state-sponsored bigotry does more to inflame resentment and hatred towards the United States and around the world. These executive orders have already proven immediately harmful to individuals in our UMass Boston community, separating families and denying scholars re-entry from travel abroad. This cannot stand. We call upon our UMass Boston and UMass administration, including Chancellor Motley and President Marty Beaton, to join us in publicly denouncing the Muslim ban. While Chancellor Motley has publicly registered concern about the recent executive orders, he has not to date spoken up publicly against them. As have university presidents at other institutions, from the University of Michigan to UMass Dartmouth, it is time for him to do so. In December 2016, the UMass Boston Faculty Council overwhelmingly passed a resolution calling upon the administration to proclaim UMB a sanctuary campus. We call on Chancellor Motley once again to take up this sanctuary campus call. In addition, we call for our local campus administration and the UMass system as a whole to mobilize resources to provide legal aid and financial support for those members of our community who are in the crosshairs of recent assaults by the Trump-Pence regime. Establish and publicize a 24-hour hotline for those in our community who are directly targeted by ICE and can connect callers with available campus and off-campus emergency legal resources. Targeted members of our community, in particular undocumented peoples and persons from newly banned countries, must not be left to fight their legal battles alone. UMB and the UMass system should once again follow the lead of institutions such as Tufts University, who have pledged such legal support. At times like these, it is crucial that our community unite, assert our shared values publicly, and turn the tide of xenophobia, intolerance, and racism before it reaches our campus gates.
Now, those of you as you listen to that petition that Megan read may have noticed a couple of things. It might make you feel like that petition is dated in some way, right? One is it mentioned the original ban of 7 predominantly Muslim countries, whereas the current ban that the Trump administration is pushing references 6. They dropped Iraq from the list. Nonetheless, the spirit of our petition stands, and the signatures that apply to 7 countries certainly apply to 6. The second way in which you might hear that this petition sounds dated is that it's addressed specifically to now outgoing, as we know, Chancellor Motley, as well as the broader UMass Boston administration. I wanted to call attention, before we bring up our next speaker, to just one point relevant to that, and that is, though Motley apparently will be leaving in June, though he may return later, our petition was never just about getting Motley or the UMass Boston administration to take notice and take action, though it is still a call on whoever sits in that chancellor's seat to take material action to support our immigrant, refugee, international students and other targeted members of our community. But in addition to that, as my student said earlier in class today, actually Samaya, where are you? Samaya said, you know, what's the point of the petition? She said it's kind of like a rally on paper. A rally on paper that lets people that know, who sign that petition, know that they're not alone in wanting to take this stand. They're not alone in condemning this ban, even if they don't hear their view on TV, if they don't hear it in their UMass Boston email, they hear it in the form of this petition. So I think it's very important for us, as our banner proclaims, we're not just saying, please make UMass Boston a sanctuary campus administration. We're saying to all of us, to every member of this community, make UMB a sanctuary, protect each other. The only way we can really have a sanctuary is if we, the people, the students, the faculty, staff, and workers, as well as supportive administrators, take it upon ourselves to make this a sanctuary, to protect each other. When we hear people are coming under attack, we support them and we address their needs. Right? So that's why what we're doing today is not just about trying to get the administration to say something, it's trying to get every one of us in our communities, in our classrooms, to feel a little more encouraged to speak up, to organize, and to fight back when we see attacks coming, as they are coming daily. The attacks are not only raining down on refugees and immigrants, though. The attacks are also raining down on other groups, and so I think it's appropriate to bring up Professor Chris Fung, who's going to join us. Last time we had a rally, had a time conflict. He's going to give us a little more political context for some of the other attacks that the Trump administration is raining down on communities across this country and across this world. So please welcome Chris Fung to the stage.
Thank you, everybody. One of the things that we know is that the people who are being targeted by immigration, by the Trump administration, are being placed in the control of a carceral state. That is a state that is profiting from the imprisonment of people, a state that is using people's bodies as economic fodder around the issue of prisons and control. Our police forces are becoming weaponized against us. There are communities for whom this has been true for centuries. So I want us to remember that although we are saying here that UMass Boston should be a sanctuary for people who are being targeted now, we should also remember that UMass Boston should be a sanctuary for all of the people who are being targeted by law enforcement, so-called. Our brothers and sisters who are LGBTQ, our brothers and sisters in the communities of color, our brothers and sisters in the poor communities, right? Native Americans, who know much more than the rest of us about being interned. Right across the water here, on Deer Island in 1674, over 400 Native people were interned because they were Native by the Massachusetts Bay Colony. When they were allowed off that island, there were only 150 of them left alive. 1674. This shit's been going on for a long time. And this petition, this movement to make UMass Boston a sanctuary is where some of us should be drawing the line and saying, this is not our Massachusetts. This is not our reality. We stand for something better. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris Fung points out, this is obviously not just about Trump, right? That Trump is, you might say, the tip of the iceberg, of the toxic iceberg, a symptom of a deeper malady, right? In addition to representing a very specific threat to many different communities and values, it's not just about Trump. Though the local group is called Boston Against the Trump Agenda, it's not just about Trump, but it is also about Trump. It is also about Trump. Our next speaker, Mona, who has been really just an anchor holding this group together in its day-to-day activity as tabling and outreach. I think we should give Mona a round of applause just for the work that she's done. She's probably put in 30 hours of tabling in the last couple of weeks. is also authored by a member of our group, Bob, who can't be here today. Mona is going to ask us actually a participatory poem which challenges Donald Trump as Donald Trump. So please bring Mona to the stage. Mona may also say a few words about her own personal situation and her relationship to this, but she's mainly going to share a poem. Mona, please join us.
Hi, can everyone hear me? It's louder? Okay. Let's say some of my own background. I came here when I was 3 years old from Iran, and I've been here for 30 years. My family is of Iranian origin, and although they're not directly affected by the executive orders, many of our family is, because I have cousins in Texas who get their students who can't have their parents visit anymore, who've been torn apart from their families because of all this. So it's made me feel very passionate about this too. I went back to Iran when I was 15, and I spent 2 years there, and I think there's a huge misrepresentation of Iran throughout the media, and they try to demonize and isolate Iran all the time. My father's there right now visiting family, and he's going to come back on the 15th, and he's having the time of his life. So there's been a grotesque exaggeration of Iran in the media, and there will continue to be throughout this regime. I'd like to read a poem by my friend Bob Pierce. He's a very dear friend of mine. He's a very gifted poet. It's about Trump, so I encourage you all to join in. So it's called Dump the Trump.
Feel free to join in if you can anticipate. It's a poem you may be able to join in on, so feel free.
The world was once a place where children run and jump, and grown-ups too could live through without a Donald Trump. But now, those days are gone. America's a sump where week by week we smell the reek of Mr. Donald Trump. He's worse than the matter which emerges from the rump. We know full well there came from hell the turd named Donald Trump. Now I'm forced to say, America's a chump. It don't its coat and went to vote for evil Donald Trump. The Arabian camel has upon its back a hump, but over we have, I fear, a lumpen Donald Trump. His hair is unnatural, and he is rather plump, whose morals are the worst by far. That bastard, Donald Trump. His family is slick, Ivanka is no frump. But he's a mess of ugliness, disgusting with Donald Trump. We often have an economic slump, but now we're in a state of sin, entitled Donald Trump. Conservatives coherd into a fascist clump of maggots in that state of sin, electing Donald Trump. The evildoers from a pestilential lump of noisome tar, the worst by far, is thinking Donald Trump. They do whatever they can to prime their poison pump and flush from earth all joy and mirth with putrid Donald Trump. But don't lose heart, my friends. Let's all agree to dump with all our strength at any length that arch swine Donald Trump. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mona. We need a dark times, easy to get cynical. A little bit of humor goes a long way, and a little bit of audience participation does as well. So, I mean, I think there's two chants we could that are logical here. One is about Trump. Dump Donald Trump, right? Dump Donald Trump. 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 What? Dump Donald Trump. 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 All right. Good. All right, we're alive, right? We're alive. The data doesn't make me feel that alive, but we're alive. Another chant that we're going to bring up our next speaker. Make UMB a sanctuary. 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 All right, that's the call. There are things we can control and there are things we can't, right? Things on campus and things off campus. We need to support each other even as we face forces that are beyond our immediate control. We got to support ourselves until we have the forces to actually dump Donald Trump, right? We try to dump Trumpism where we live, and then we build the force to dump it where he lives. All right. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome to the stage Peggy Walsh, my colleague in the English department and a member of the Faculty Staff Union Executive Council. she's going to be sharing FSU's own statement calling for UMB to become a sanctuary campus. Welcome Peggy to the stage, please.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Faculty Staff Union Executive Committee. Joe was calling the administration there to come out and take a stand.
Did you like what I said at the beginning?
This is one
My
of
dad's
our
there right now.
unions taking a stand. The Faculty Staff Union Executive Committee strongly
Megan was nice at the beginning,
condemns
too.
the 90
Megan was
days
nice. Was it louder than Megan?
of visas and
think a
other
little bit, yeah.
I
immigration
tried.
benefits.
Yeah,
Was it slow?
All national
No.
No, but I
Okay.
put
Iran,
You had a good pitch, yeah.
Libya,
No, I mean, could you
Syria,
understand the poem?
Yes.
Sudan,
Yeah.
Yemen, and Somalia. Our UMass community is composed of people from all over the world, including these countries. Our UMass community is composed of many immigrants and children like me of immigrants. We know what it's like to be new in the country. I remember being a little kid wanting to be an American. That
Poem
was
is
in the
good.
days of no Irish
Yeah.
flag.
She published it.
Good. Let's try.
The Trump
It's so
ban
good.
has already
I wanna send it to
affected
you.
our community.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Some of
Yeah.
us affected directly. Hold-ups at airports, standing around waiting and worrying about arrivals. It has affected all of us indirectly, whether you know it or not. There is now an atmosphere of fear and suspicion on the campus. We need to know who we can trust. I have a sign on my office door: immigrants and refugees safe here. You can come to my office, take the sign down, and photostat it for your office door if you like. It would be so wonderful if every office door had a sign like that on it. On a practical level, for those of you who are interested in the teaching and learning aspect of being at a university, our research, outreach, and opportunities have been cut down. Now, if people are afraid to travel to some of these countries because they're afraid they won't be allowed back home. Finally, we, the Faculty Staff Union Executive Committee, are committed strongly to supporting all the other unions, and especially the unions whose members are composed mostly of immigrants, some of whom have been fired, and maybe you could tell us a little bit more about those details, please. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Following up on Peggy Walsh's talk, we have another leader in one of the local campus movements, Tom Goodkind, representing the professional staff union. He's going to share some words with us next. Thank you, Tom. Welcome, Tom, to the stage.
I'm going to say a lot of what I said about a month ago, which is trying to address the question of what does a union have to do with sanctuary. I'm the president of the professional staff union here, and a lot of people wonder, why should a union be concerned about the sanctuary? The first question is, what is a union? A union is just the organizational expression of solidarity among a group of diverse people who happen to work together, like we have here at UMass. And it's the organizational embodiment of the idea that an injury to one is an injury to all. That's what a union is. And what is sanctuary? Sanctuary is the fundamental expression of solidarity with anyone who is facing danger from injustice and oppression. And a sanctuary is any place where the congregation practices the idea that an injury to one is an injury to all. The concept of sanctuary has its roots in religion, but any place of refuge or asylum is a sanctuary. And anywhere we have a congregation of people who swear to protect one another, whatever the cost, who express solidarity with one another, whatever may happen, and who declare by their actions that an injury to one is an injury to all, wherever that congregation exists, there exists sanctuary. Today, the Trump Confederacy is coming after all of us. Immigrants, people of color, women, Muslims, poor people, unions, those who wish to protect our environment, those dependent on public education and public services, and those who provide that education and those services. Look around us. The fact is, our UMass Boston is what the Trump Confederates call a target-rich environment. In whatever form their assaults take on this campus, whether immigration raids, anti-Muslim slurs, bottom-feeding hipster fascists, or Supreme Court attacks on our public sector unions, which are coming our way. Our best and most enduring defense is in the solidarity of our UMass Boston congregation and in our demand that our campus be a sanctuary, both in spirit and in fact. Now, we have an example in front of us right now, which I only heard about recently, with the janitors on this campus, who are not employed directly by UMass Boston. They're employed by a contractor. They're privatized. They're represented by a union called SEIU 32BJ. And in October of last year, the university demanded that the contractor eliminate 5 of those janitors to save money for the university. In March, the university demanded that the contractor eliminate 12 more of those janitors. That's 17 total, which is approximately 30% of the janitorial staff of this campus. They have all been laid off. Almost all of those workers are immigrant workers, and many of us know them, and those of us who don't know them see them all the time and benefit from their work. And it is the fiscal crisis at this university and this administration which is driving the layoffs of those workers. So part of the expression of sanctuary should involve an expression of solidarity with those janitors. So I hope we can all deliver the message to the Chancellor and to the administration here that we want those janitors back, doing the work on which we depend, and that's part of making this a sanctuary campus too. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Make UMB
Sanctuary.
Make UMB
A sanctuary.
Make UMB
Sanctuary.
Make UMB
Sanctuary.
Make UMB
Sanctuary.
All right. Sanctuary means solidarity, right? Sanctuary can't just be something that's on paper, something that we even get or don't get an administration to say they're going to do, but it has to be something that we do. We do, right? We actually had 2 members of the union that has just been targeted for layoffs wanted to be here with us today, but due to personal commitments, we're not able to make it back to campus. But we are in touch with them. We are planning to work with them in Boston against the Trump agenda. And I think Tom reminds us that defending immigrant rights means defending worker rights, right? Many times the only protection that workers have, and immigrant workers in particular, is a union if they have one. But a union is also only as strong as the people that inspire it and give it a sense of solidarity. A union on paper doesn't protect you. Only a union that actually has real solidarity, right? So these workers couldn't be with us today. They are under attack. And their situation reminds us that things we're hearing about in the newspapers every day about the budget crisis is related to the struggle against racism, the struggle for solidarity with immigrants, right? When the state doesn't give enough money to UMass Boston, when the trustees don't release funds that could relieve our financial distress, when more money, $14 million goes to upper administration, and there's not enough money for teachers and workers, jobs get cut. And who's get cut? The most vulnerable workers get cut. And who is that? It's often the janitors. 30% of their cleaning staff has now been alerted for layoff. Think about that for a second. We have more space on campus than ever, more bathrooms and hallways, 2 new huge buildings to clean and maintain, and yet the staff to clean them has been cut by 30%. Think about those workers' families, what they're going through, and think about the workers who haven't been laid off and what they're going through, having to work 30% harder, 30% more scared that they could be next. First, they come for the janitors. Who's next? Right, we're hearing news about classes that are being canceled. What does that mean? It means students have fewer options for classes, delayed graduation. But it also means faculty, and often non-tenure track faculty, the most vulnerable faculty, those who have only been here for a few years in particular, including people that I know and value very much, may have their classes or even their jobs lost. Right? You as students are facing courses being cut. I encourage you to think about what's happening to you as a labor issue that's affecting workers on this campus. We really need to stand up for more funding for workers, for janitors, for teaching, for students, in order to make this a real sanctuary. And so I need to point you to the fluorescent leaflet that Mary Jo is holding. This is a leaflet you need to take. If you don't have one, and help pass them out to other people. This is a leaflet that calls you to come to the Board of Trustees meeting next Wednesday, 9 a.m., right in this building on the 3rd floor. The Board of Trustees are meeting. These are the people that control the purse strings of our university. And when they do not allow us to have the funds we need, it means people get hurt. It means people get cut. It means people get oppressed more than they already are. So I ask you, we are a small number today. We are hoping, however, to be hundreds at the Board of Trustees meeting, to flood that meeting and to make sure business as usual cannot continue if business as usual means rolling over the people that are most vulnerable, the people that actually make this institution function, the students, workers, and faculty. Are you going to be there on the 12th? Who will be there? Who will be there on the 12th? If you can be there, be there. If you can't, send a proxy, send a friend, send a colleague, send a teacher. This is a struggle that goes on every day. And it links, we need both the spirit of solidarity and the resources to make this place a sanctuary. How can it be a sanctuary if people can't afford to go here? How can it be a sanctuary if people are afraid they're going to be laid off? Right? Whatever paper they sign at the top, we need to make sure there's support, material support, to make this a real sanctuary. So join us on April 12th, and we can take that one step forward. Right now, I'd like to call to the stage another UMass Boston alum and staff and an organizer in the Boston area, Amanda Asian, to be followed by Chris Legier from the Boston Area Anti-Trump Network Combat, the coalition to organize and mobilize Boston against Trump. All right. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi everyone, my name's Amanda Asian. I graduated from UMass a few years ago. I'm now a staff member in the economics department. I'm also in the International Socialist Organization and very dedicated to building a movement against Trump and his agenda. Trump has declared a massive war on immigrants in this country. 11 million people are under massive attack right now, are living in fear. Obama, who deported 3 million people, the quarter-in-chief, has left this machinery for Trump to take on, and he's ramping it up. He's unleashed ICE, he's tripled their size, and they're terrorizing people across the country. So 4 activists in Vermont, immigrant rights activists, were arrested leaving an organizing meeting. This was 2 weeks ago. Undercover ICE agents, attacking activists speaking out against deportations. A man was just shot in Chicago a few weeks ago by an ICE agent who's carrying out a rape. There have been workplace raids across the country. People living in fear of going to work, going home, traveling. And that's definitely hit our campus community in a big way. We have a large immigrant population amongst students and workers. And so in this country for the administration to come out and say, you know, it's nice what you guys are doing, I support it, but we can't take a stand, I think is outrageous. I think it means a lot for the administration to take a stand publicly and actually provide resources to students who need them. Counseling, legal services. And not only are they not helping immigrant students under attack and resisting Trump's attack on immigrants, but they're actually carrying out more attacks that are making it harder for students. So they're on top of the fear that people are facing, they're adding more to that. So they're increasing tuition, they're pricing students out. Like people have said, the most vulnerable students. They're laying off people. They just laid off 7 janitors on Friday. Many of the janitors are immigrants and Latino. So this is really important for us to take a stand and demand that the administration take a stand and stop the attacks. One final thing I want to say is I think that it is possible to resist these attacks and make connections and actually challenge both what's happening that Trump's putting out there on our campus by demanding these resources and sanctuary status, but also through mobilizing to the Board of Trustees meeting, which is happening next Wednesday, and actually demanding stop cutting our courses. They just cut 200 courses that have been advertised for the fall semester. People aren't going to be able to graduate. That is going to affect the most vulnerable students on campus. They're raising tuition. They're laying off professors. They're laying off janitors. All of these issues are part of this overall attack that Trump is carrying out, the administration is supporting, our local government is supporting. So we need to unite these struggles, and I think the Board of Trustees meeting will be an important way to do that. The women's protests, the airport protests, all of the emerging struggle has shown us that protest actually does matter, can affect the realities in front of us. And so I think we need more of that. This is really important, an important contribution to that. We need more organizing, more protests, and I hope to see people at the Board of Trustees meeting.
Thank you, Amanda. Our next speaker, Chris Legier, is a UMass Boston student and also active in the citywide coalition Combat, which is a coalition to organize, mobilize Boston against Trump. He's going to be talking a little bit about things we can do on and also off campus to build solidarity with immigrants and workers and others targeted by the Trump regime. Welcome, Chris, to the front.
Like I said, I'm a student here. I'm graduating this semester, but yeah, I've been here for a few years, and I'm a member of Combat. Something Combat's doing is working towards May 1st. Some of you might have heard, but there's going to be a nationwide Day Without Immigrants strike happening. There have already been hundreds of thousands of workers who have pledged that they're going to strike on May 1st, and there's going to be rallies happening around the city on that day. And what Combat's trying to do is organize citywide student walkouts in solidarity with that. So we're working with organizations like COSECHA, and there's a Mayday Coalition is organizing a rally at on the Commons at 5 p.m. on May 1st. I encourage everyone to get involved with that. If you're interested in getting involved in Combat, we meet on Wednesday nights at Mass Art. I have these brochures with like some information. And also another thing that's happening is there's a rally happening on the Commons a week from today. It's been organized by SIM, COSECHA, Combat, and the Northeastern Sanctuary Campus movement, I believe, too. Yeah, there's lots of stuff happening around the city, and it's really important to connect the work we're doing on campus to the
So at this point in our program, I would like to wrap things up here and transition us to our next step, which is to in fact march to Motley's office in the Quinn Administration Building to deliver some of the 1,000 signatures that we have collected on our call to make UMass Boston a sanctuary campus. Before we wrap up though, I want to call attention to a couple of things. It's already been mentioned that next Wednesday's a big action. The fluorescent leaflet is about that. Come to the Board of Trustees, raise the call for a sanctuary campus there, and raise the call for the support that can make an accessible campus for all, quality, universal, higher education accessible to all possible. Raise that call with us there. Our numbers will be bigger there. Secondly, I want to call your attention to something on the educational front. This is a small leaflet I'm going to pass around. Being a university, our job is not just to fight the Trump agenda, is not just to rally, but to take the power in our classrooms, using critical thinking and knowledge in the classroom and in academic programming to expand consciousness and build organization. We have dozens of events happening in April. There is a teach-in series. If you go to www.notmynormal.org, you can find literally dozens of teach-in events that are happening, particularly in the last week of April. Boston Against the Trump Agenda, with Combat, will be organizing one of these events. We encourage you to get involved. That will be on April 28th. There is also some great events on corporate immigrant solidarity on April 27th. I just refer you to the online calendar where you can find greater events to plug into. The struggle is not just in the streets, the struggle is also in the classroom and in the teaching. So part of what you can do is spreading word about these events to your classmates, to your teachers. UMass Boston is a place where people are very busy and oftentimes we don't even know what's going on. That's one thing we can all do, is take what we know is going on and let other people know about it. Right? Whether it's something, an attack that's happening or a great event that's happening. If we can all take that small step of connecting literally with the people who are here today and connecting those people to our existing networks, we will be stronger tomorrow than we are today. And that's really the key, right? The big rallies come out of the small groups coming together. We need to sustain each other. And one thing you can do with Boston Against the Trump Agenda is come to our Thursday meetings. I think we're probably giving ourselves today off, but Thursday at 3:30, from 3:30 to 5, every single Thursday we meet in the new science building on the 3rd floor. You're welcome to join us, and if a few of you step forward and get more involved, then this rally, small as it may look, is a success, because every small step takes us closer. All right? That's all I have for you today. I have an inspirational poem, but my voice is going. So, how do you feel about marching? Hear about marching? The proposal was that we go through the catwalk because of the rain and wind. How do people feel about that? March through the catwalk behind our smaller banner. We also need a couple people to watch that banner in case there's any threat to it, to make sure nothing happens to it before we come back. So do we have volunteers to do that, Mona? Perhaps another volunteer to join Mona? Okay. Before we start, I'd like to have just another few seconds of chanting to get our spirit back up. What are we asking for today? Is to make UMB a sanctuary and calling on our campus to protect each other, from the janitors to the faculty, to everyone, to the students, right? Make UMB
Sanctuary.
Make UMB
Sanctuary.
Make UMB a sanctuary. Make UMB a sanctuary. All right, let's go deliver this petition, folks, and see what the administration has to say.